And usually I always try to smile at the beginning because sometimes LinkedIn or YouTube captures the first picture. So I put a big on smile and hopefully that was captured and not something when I look down on the floor or something like that. So really,
Yeah, that was a good one, actually. I was like, Anton is smiling.
I learned the hard way, actually. So really great, to both have you here. So Morat and Shireen, really pleasure, to have you on today's live event, welcoming the TakaDAO team. And I hope you're going to have an awesome discussion. And usually it takes a bit of time for the, people to slowly join the live event. So, we can have like a slow, start. But really, I think, the best introduction or the best start to this live event would be actually to have the honor to hear, who you are personally, what motivates you, kind of, maybe your background, your experiences, and then also definitely have an exciting discussion around, what is TakaDAO all about, and what are some of the amazing things that you are doing that I'm trying to tell to a lot of other people. So this is my proposal, how we can start. And, always, if that's fine with you, and we know that we can do it, and the ladies start first.
Yes.
That's fine with you, Morat. Yeah.
He has no choice. Always ladies first. Thank you, Anton. It's so nice to speak to you again. The last time we had a conversation actually was really well received. So I'm glad to be on your show this time. So my name is Shireen. I'm one of the co-founders of TakaDAO. And I am originally from Singapore. I live in Riyadh today. I've been for about 10 years, I lived in the United States and about 10 years in Dubai, and then back and forth between Asia and Europe. So I've been a little bit all over the place. I am a serial entrepreneur. So myself and Murad, we've been business partners for such a long time. I think over 20 years now. If I want to be precise, probably around 23 years now. So we've always been doing this. This is our passion. We love building businesses, and we've actually exited several in the past, and I'll let Murad tell that story. Today, what we're trying to build is something that is very, very close to my heart. And I always refer to a couple of events in my life that have brought me to this point. So event number one was a personal experience with the death of a family friend. So we had this family that was very close in age to us. Their children were around the same age as ours. And so one day the husband goes off for Umrah. So he was living in the UAE, and he drives to Saudi Arabia, to Mecca, for the pilgrimage. All right. And he goes with a friend. And on his way back, as they're driving, the friend falls asleep and they get into a car accident, and both of them pass away on the road, essentially. So when we heard, so he leaves behind a wife and 3 young children. So the oldest at the time, I think, was around 10 or 12 years old. I don't remember. And when we heard about it, the very next day, I went to the widow's house in order to offer her support. What happened was something I remember. I still have the mental picture of this event. When I entered her house, it was packed. It was full of people. It was standing room only. And I remember thinking to myself, everybody is here to support her. The entire community had come to give her support. They were bringing food. They were bringing money. They brought toys for the kids. They brought ideas for how she's going to keep going, And that event stayed with me, and until this day, it still warms my heart. She's doing really well now. The kids are in college, and I think one has graduated and is working. But the thing that struck me at the time was the importance of community, and how when you really need it, it's a community that steps in and helps you. It's not a centralized institution. It's not a bank. It was not an insurance company. It was certainly not the government, but it was a community around her. And this, it's always in the back of my mind. I'm like, this is the power of community. So that was event number one. Event number two was being in the startup world. So as I said, me and Murad, we founded many companies in the past, and the last one was a startup which we exited. And that event taught me about the power of technology to change people's lives. And we are in this unprecedented point in time where, for let's say the first 20 years of my life, pre-tech, meaning, I'm somewhat old now. So the first 20 years of my life, we were still using, landline telephones, and there was no internet, and AOL was born sometime after I was 20. So uh, things move pretty slowly. Change didn't happen so fast. But today, everything is happening. Within 1-2 years, you have these like great shifts in the way people do things. Today with generative AI and things like that. So it really made me recognize the power of technology in changing people's lives. So that was event number 2. And then event number 3 was the 2008 financial crisis, which was such a wake-up call. And it told me that, look, the people that we trust our money to are not really to be trusted. Central banks, investment banks, Wall Street, all of these guys, they were asleep at the wheel and they caused a lot of harm. And it's still happening today, right? And so this really taught me that we need to take custody of our own financial lives. And those 3 events brought me to where I am today, which is we're trying to build at SwissAssetDAO a alternative to the traditional financial system, and particularly one that is community owned and that prioritizes the community and helping people above profits. And so that's my story of how what moves me and what motivates us at SwissAssetDAO. I'm gonna turn it over to Morad because I talked too much already.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Manu.
Yeah, so hi everybody, and thank you again, Anton, for this great opportunity to tell our story. So I welcome everyone, everybody's questions. So my name is Murad. I'm the co-founder of SwissAssetDAO. Now, SwissAssetDAO means Taka full on the DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. And so happy to have people who understand this terminology and understand this technology as well, and finding like-minded people like Anton. It's a great pleasure to share this. So I'm originally from France, but moved to the US when I was 20, and then spent 10 years over there and moved 15 years ago into the GCC, Dubai, when Sheikh Zayed Road was the 1 or 2 building back then. They were nothing. So I saw the growth of this country, and also the way technology was also taking shape and form there as well. So as Sharon was mentioning, I did multiple different type of businesses, from traditional businesses, owning a chain of coffee shop, restaurant in in Los Angeles. Then moved to the UAE, start looking at more scalable type of business I could put myself into. So I would move into manufacturing businesses, which was much better, and I could scale my operation. But I realized that those businesses had 4 walls. Whatever it is, a restaurant or a warehouse, you still have 4 walls that limitate you. Uh, Fast forward, I start looking at what could help me build things that are highly scalable. So I moved directly to digital, building a digital business back in 2013, of course, again with Sharon. And the limitation was, the cloud. So you could have as many customers as possible and grow your user base and grow your business. So that's what really kind of fascinate me with the way you could run a business in the digital space. Okay. Alhamdulillah, thanks God, this business actually was successful and we got acquired after a lot of battles, a lot of suffering by the IKEA group back in Saudi Arabia. And it was a kind of e-commerce platform, like reselling platform. So after exiting actually this business, we had a lot of time finally to dig into what was crypto all about, what was blockchain. Had it finally a chance to understand and read the white paper of Bitcoin and understanding the underlying technology and stuff like that. To be honest, as a Muslim background, we had a lot of reservation on the technology itself, who's behind it. So we're asking like scholars about it, the validation of this technology and these use cases of exchanging money that is totally digital. Anyway, when we kind of dig a little bit more, of course, at the same time, Sharon had this ideas that we're kind of starting to formulate, but that was really really nascent. We didn't know exactly where we wanted to do. But one thing for sure, we wanted to dedicate the next 5 to 10 years of our life to do something meaningful, to do something that is impactful and change the way things are done. So as she mentioned, 2008 was one of the first revelation of, nothing is going right. They're getting like a license to scam, basically. It's like Wall Street is a whole bunch of guys coming up with formulations, a system that protect them at the end of the day, and the small guys are the one losing all the time. So the end first system, and this too big to fail situation when you look at banks and stuff like that. That really, really pissed me off, kind of like this system is not built for the 99ers. So when we look at the decentralized technology, blockchain and everything, I find another family, people trying to build something to really give back to the masses, to the people. Anybody can come in. It's easy to, to join and move things. So we had this vision of looking at how to build a product that is, guarantee everybody's safety. And the entrance DAO was the most obvious product we could really put our effort in. But to be honest, we had no clue whatsoever how to start. We had no background understanding of insurance. We had no background understanding of the Sharia compliance, takaful, and everything, let alone the DAO. It was like just like 3 letters that we tried to discover. But with a lot of effort and the ability to kind of recruit talented people in the space, we quickly been able to learn all this terminology, this underlying technology, and build a rockstar team to go and have our white paper in like a month or 2 months. It was already kind of shaping up, I would say.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot, Morad. And really, awesome to have both you and Shireen here. And, so many questions actually come to my mind as both you and Shireen were actually explaining about your motivation, your drive. One that I will just flag it now, but I want to ask you later. I think a lot of the audience will actually want to know, how does it feel to be acquired? What are the steps you need to do? I think this is really a look behind the scenes, what's happening. So maybe we can talk about that later. But I have 2 questions actually, for you. Is that you actually said something very fascinating, is that as an entrepreneur, when you go and start your new venture, you're actually going into an unknown, even though you're a person with a lot of experience. Objectively, you're a person, high achiever, you have done a lot, you have succeeded, or you have learned a lot, big experience. But the other side, you're faced with a challenge that you are a newbie, or how do we say, a rookie, a beginner in this new line of work that you're doing. So how does it feel for you? How do you, how do you deal with these kind of challenges, when you objectively, as a very accomplished people, are doing something new and then have to go through all the challenges that all the entrepreneurs and founders go through when they're actually launching a new venture? So I don't know who of you would like to take upon that, but how does it feel to be a multiple founder, but a beginner founder? Yeah.
I will start, and maybe Sharon will add up on that. So to be honest, it's very interesting, my personality, basically, I have a brother. He's totally the opposite, I would say, mindset. So when I have an idea, when we were young, when I had an idea, and I would go to him, and I would say, what do you think about these ideas? Since he graduated with an MBA type of things, he would always pinpoint the difficulties and the non possibility of doing the business itself. So he would come with a lot of negative things. And as soon as he would give me his answer, I would jump and do it. I would say, thank you so much. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So then I'm armed with all the negative things that happen. And I'm starting to say, okay, who should I reach? It's all about people at the end of the day. Who should I reach? And how do I get people to help me solve this problem? So I like to approach, to be honest, an industry or a business with a blank page, completely blank. Because if you come like as an expert, let's say in insurance business, or expert in actual. When you have and you see the headache and the mountain of ridiculous amount of things that you have to tackle, you will give up right away. So like they say, ignorance is bliss, it's like nyama, you will go as you go and you start learning, and you tackle every headache, every difficulties with a pinch and ice, I would say. So you will always trying to find who can answer me, who can help me out, and you find the talent pool to build these things step by step. So this is my approach. I come as a novice, I don't know nothing, and that's a benefit because I will be able to find and turn around and say, oh, I can do it the other way around. Versus if you come with already a pre-mindset of knowing it all in the industry, class, you don't get anywhere. This is too difficult. The regulator will crush you. This will happen. This will happen. And that's the thing. Then, of course, you go to the talented people in the industry and get the feedback and everything. And as I say, you try to find a workaround all the time. So this is how I approach the things to give you a little bit of my personality. Maybe Sharon can add up on that and if I miss something.
Yeah, just to echo what Murad said, I think for myself anyway, I've never felt to be like I'm accomplished. I think I will never ever feel that come to that point where I feel like, oh, okay, I'm so cool and I'm accomplished and I've done it all. I think that is maybe what makes me an entrepreneur, because there's always something that's coming, and that's what excites me and that's what keeps me going. That's what it's a challenge that I embrace. So the more difficult a problem is, the more I feel it's worthwhile to do. So when we started SwissAssetDAO, because it's insurance, especially insurance, everybody was like, oh, do you know what you're doing is really difficult? And I'm like, duh, I mean, what is the point of doing it if it wasn't difficult? Anything that's worth doing is going to be hard. And so the harder it is actually the something that excites me and makes me want to go. And new industry is generally hard. So yeah, I mean, this is maybe this is the entrepreneurial mindset.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. And I really like how you positioned it. Actually, the first, the great things in life are difficult, take time as well. I think this is kind of what we kind of learn through experience. But also, I really love the ignorance is bliss. I was also smiling that people could not see it on the smiling, because it is absolutely true. But talking about not ignorance, but I think about how you're managing your community, and something, the unknown three letters, in both of the names of Taka DAO and SwissAssetDAO. I really want to ask you, how is it to run a DAO? So please tell us, the behind the scenes, experiences. How do you, build your community? How do you leverage it? Do you have actually any kind of success stories that came about from you being a DAO? And how was the experience so far? Would you do it again if you had to do it? Let's say it like that. And where do you see DAOs going in the future, actually, and how do you want to be a part of it?
So let me start first. The idea of building a DAO, it wasn't an idea that we started with. Let's put it this way. We started with the thought of, okay, how can we build something that will benefit our community, that is insurance. And it actually, so I was trying to figure out what is the best way to build this product that fulfilled the goals that we were trying to fulfill, which is, number one, that we wanted to prioritize community well-being. All right. So that means that we needed to not have external shareholders who were profit seeking. Because if you have a structure where there are people who are just there for the profit, and then there are those people who are there for the service, then the people who are there for the profit are not really aligned in their interests with the people who are there for the service. And this is especially true in insurance, right? Because for an insurance company to make money, they have to deny claims. Because if they pay the claim, it comes out directly from their bottom line. And for somebody to get value from their insurance, they have to get a claim. Otherwise, they would have paid for nothing. So the two sides are not aligned, and their interests are exactly diametrically opposed. This is why the insurance company and the insurance industry is so problematic. So I was thinking, how do we create this system? And of course, the inspiration didn't come from me. It came from Takaful, which is an Islamic insurance, which is about risk and profit sharing. So based on that model, my love of technology, I met the DAO one day randomly reading up about stuff, and I was like, wait a second. This thing was created just for the Islamic insurance system. Must be. Because it was perfectly aligned. It was perfectly fitting. It was a fund and an organization that is owned by the very people it's serving. And so this is why, even if I had, even though we didn't, necessarily want to form a DAO, we had to, because this was the perfect use case. This is the technology that makes sense for this product and the goals that we're trying to achieve. Having said that, nothing is ever easy, right? And again, it's going back to, if it's difficult, that's when it's worth doing. And getting people to actually subscribe to your vision is number one, difficult. And then getting them to act on your vision, meaning not only do they join you and join as part of the DAO, it's also hard to get them to engage, because in the DAO system, you need the community. Without the people, there's nothing. Because it's like, it's community owned, community run, etc. So if there's no community, there's nothing. So this part is still a challenge, and I think every day we're trying to overcome it and figure out ways in which to engage our community. And it's definitely not easy, especially today where people are so busy, and they're so busy trying, just with day-to-day life, that they don't have time to really pay attention to stuff outside of their lives. So maybe to that end, what we're trying to do is really to communicate our vision and to explain to people what we believe. And we hope that by doing that, people will actually, who believe what we believe, will come and join us.
Yeah. To add on that, actually, so building a community is that in a Web2, that's something we were very familiar with. Customer engagement, referral program, or especially when you build double-sided marketplaces, the like of buying and selling online or Uber. You need the driver, you need the customer to use you. So you have this, flying wheel effect that people like to say about double-sided marketplace that take shape and happen. So for us, again, it was we were kind of clueless about the Web3. We thought like, fine, we build these ideas. We're gonna promote it, of course, on some social network, do some social content, and of course use some capital to grow our community through different great advertisement through Facebook, you name it, Google, and everything. And we quickly realized that those guys, they don't like us. They don't like those three letters plus a number of things, Web3, crypto, and all this. So we were like kind of blocked, and are they really the people we want to talk to anyway at the end of the day? So we realized that it's all about going to the 1% of the first earliest adopter, people who understand, the lucky one, I would say, who have been, in it for some times. And those guys, they're like really receptive and they really want to hear. And I was surprised that the guy was like, talking to a community, send me your white paper. I'm like, is he really going to read these 10-page documents? The guy come back with the documents read and the proof read and comment and everything. So I realized, wow, mashallah, this community is really, hardcore. They really want to do things and change things. So yes, of course, building the community is still not an easy thing. We have a growing community now, around 20,000 members that are coming as a last count. What is interesting is that you have to be honest, and you have to be upfront, and you have to share a lot in this community, and and face everything. There's a lot of nonsense happening. We have few battles: the customer adoption into this space, and unfortunately the amount of scam that's happening in the community itself. Okay, so it's like, so you have in multiple front where you have to fight. So the only way for you to really be there and build the community is to communicate, to talk about your issue, to talk about the up and downs and everything. And then you have a community that wants to support you and look at what you're building, and then these things are happening, and that's why, it's a small community, but the fast growing community, and that's what we love to hear.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks a lot to both of you. I can also just say is that really a lot of things that you said about building a community, be that within the context of a DAO or not, or Web3 or not Web3, I as well think it's actually a huge amount of effort. I think the people who are doing it, with their own, two hands, really realize how much actually challenge it is to do it, because you need to engage with the community, you need to reward them, you need to inform them, be transparent with them. But at the same time, what I found, or what I'm convinced, is actually that the upside that the project, the entity, the goal and the vision get from the community actually overweights the huge amount of effort that you need to put into building the community. So it's really that, asymmetric reward. But I flat out tell to everyone building a DAO is difficult, and it's really a lot of work, but it's part of I think it's part of the experience and part of the challenge to make it more efficient. Yeah. And maybe also I'm sure for a lot of people will be very curious. I kind of caught that both you, Morad, and you, Shireen, have kind of mentioned it, is that actually the community of TakaDAO can actually participate in supporting the insurance products. So I think this is a very, very important innovation. I think it's also kind of, if I may be that bold and open, it's at the edge of being a DeFi solution, let's say, or open, inviting, and transparent and decentralized solution. So can you share a little bit like how it works in practice when a community member wants to be part of TakaDAO, but within a very specific context of your product? I think that would be very interesting to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you are absolutely right. It is a DeFi product, and we aim to be as decentralized as possible. So we, the company, TakaDAO, we're not actually controlling the insurance fund. So our job is to build the technology that allows people to self-insure. In other words, they pool their money together and they insure one another. And what we do is we build the technology, we build the actuarial models, and everything is there, and people just adopt the technology and self-insure. Now, let's take a very basic use case, which is the life insurance fund that we'll be launching towards the June of this year. People will come, they will buy a token, and whatever money is raised from buying the token will be put into the treasury. All right, that treasury is used to pay claims and is also invested for a return. Now, whatever money is there after all the claims are paid, after a certain period of time, is called the underwriting surplus, and that gets redistributed back to the DAO members themselves. Okay. Now, here's how the claims actually work. So when you come in and you buy the token, you need to stake your token in a smart contract, that is the insurance contract. Before you do that, we will tell you, okay, for X amount of contribution, you will get X amount of benefit multiplier, which means that if you have a claim, if you pass away, your beneficiaries, your family will receive whatever the contribution amount times the benefit multiplier. So let's say you are young and healthy, your benefit multiplier is something like 300. If you put in $1 in the fund, you will have, and you have a claim and you pass away, your family gets 1 times $300. Okay, so that's how essentially that piece works. Your token is staked in the smart contract for 5 years, and during that 5 years, you cannot do anything with it. You cannot trade it. You cannot redeem it. It's staked, and that is your life insurance policy. After the 5 years are up, suppose nothing has happened to you, then you have this token, which now you can actually trade. You can first of all come back to the DAO and redeem it for an underwriting surplus. So you're part of the fund. Whatever is left, if there's an upside, most likely there's no upside, but at least you will get a residual value for it. Or you can actually sell it and trade it on the secondary market. So that's more or less how the tokenomics works. Of course, there's other bells and whistles that we that happens. Now, the key thing here is that you also participate in two things: governance. Number one, governance at a high level. So like we said, we have built the actuarial model, and which this is the thing we actually patented. This is our IP, is the actuarial model. So you can use the actuarial model is obviously used and publicly available to the publicly available to the DAO. However, let's say that there are decisions to be made about the actuarial model. So, for example, we have set the reserves at a certain amount to be conservative. If if the DAO, the people who are insuring themselves, by the way, they say, well, we want it to be a little bit riskier, then a proposal can be put, and the DAO can decide, okay, we are willing to take more risks with our insurance fund. So that's how people can participate in governance. And the other part is people actually participate in the claims management role. Now, this is not to say that we vote on whether a claim is accepted or not. It is to say that because the only thing we are verifying is whether somebody is alive or dead, so we actually need to verify certain documents and verify whether this individual has indeed passed away. And this, we have a multi-stage process. It's a blind process. So nobody knows who the other verifiers are. And only bits and pieces of information are released, so that as much privacy is kept as possible. And there are something like 10 verifiers who will corroborate the information without knowing who each other are. Again, this is a blind process. And based on what they come up with, the claim is approved or denied. So this is, again, decentralized. And the point here is that we're trying to take ourselves out of the equation. We're just the technology layer. And we want to provide this technology for many, many different types of communities who want to self-insure. So we start with life insurance, but you can see this going out to property insurance. You can see this even going out to, let's say, farmers who want to insure their crops, and they have a shared risk, so all the farmers come together. And this is the concept. And what we're trying to get at is really a simple concept, which is that insurance today, again, because of the misalignment of interests, it's the worst user experience. Everybody hates insurance companies, and probably for good reason. So what we're trying to do is to take away that profit motive. All right? Only those who are insuring themselves will profit from it. And so we flip the entire insurance industry on its head. And this we can only do with Web3 and with decentralization and with a token.
And the DAO.
Go ahead, Morat. Sorry, you said with the DAO as
and,
well, yeah?
and the DAO, and the DAO technology. That's the exciting things. As we know, it's something exciting and new. We are still working with regulators for them to even understand how they can regulate the DAO, how we can make it happen, and stuff like that. And that's some of the things that you guys at Swiss Asset DAO are, also great to guide us through the darkness, I would say, to the light. So that's exciting.
Awesome, yeah. And I think first, I just want to say is that you both touch upon something very important, is actually that, we are with this, new solutions that, TakaDAOs, for instance, offering, you're really also venturing into a very traditional, conservative industry that has its way for, many, many years, decades, if not centuries, challenging the status quo and challenging how things are done. And I think you touched upon this, Morad, very, at the end, very briefly, but I also really want to know, how the regulators see what you're doing, also on the regulatory side, but how also people see it from a point of view of religion, because we're talking about here specific or about compliant products in a sense of religion. So can you also tell me what was the reception there? What were the challenges there? How does this discussion evolve? And some hopefully wins and victories that you had along the way, and positive experiences, working with progressive people.
I would begin maybe stuff. So in terms of religion, when you look at it this way, all religion, whatever it's Islam or Judaism or Christianity, they have a fundamental belief of non-interest based lending. That's part of the old books. All books believe in that. Okay, so the Muslims are not reinventing this. It's something that has been written in the Old Testament all the way to the Quran, because it's the same, I would say, continuation of revelation. You know, so if you talk to a traditional or Christian, he will tell you, "Oh, in my church we don't take interest." Same for a Jewish. Okay, so when it comes to insurance, again, there's a lot of overlapping with all religion, monotheist religion in particular. The Jewish, for example, they have some kind of mutual insurance that they insure one another that exists actually. This model exists in a traditional fashion, okay, in America. I think I forgot the name. Is like some community-based insurance where they only insure one another in that same fashion. Same thing for the Christian, I think. And then you go to the Muslim concept of like with takaful or community-based insurance. And by the way, when you go a few years back, you had the concept of mutual insurance that existed back then in Europe, and they still do exist. Okay, so this is to tackle the religious aspect. Okay, of course, for us as Muslim, it's easy to go easy or not easy, but we go to the Sharia board and we follow a strict rules of how to do it. And the Sharia board basically they approve the concept, but our product is religion agnostic. So actually, a lot of Christian and Jewish, they love it because they're like, I feel it's a product that can help me in my own daily life and whatever it is. So they also adhere to what we do. So it's really, of course, we started with our own community because I was the most affected one in terms of not being able to find a proper insurance, because most of the Muslim will not insure more than what is obligatory for them, the car. Everything else they will not insure it because of the Sharia compliance things, meaning it's not legal for them to have an insurance, let alone life insurance and so on and so forth. Okay, wherever they are in the globe. So when it comes to the regulator, and Sharon can maybe talk on that, we talking to the regulator was really good because especially Dubai regulator or Singapore regulator, and even here at KSA level, what is exciting is that when they understand what we try to do and understand the underlying technology and understand that actually they don't look at us, for example, as a financial product, they look at us as a technological product that if everything is kept into a decentralized fashion and nothing is actually going out of the ecosystem, we are still like under a technological product without being a financial product, and hence we are not like associated to a regulator somehow, as long as we don't touch the. And that's the difficulty for us, is to keep this product in a very 100% decentralized fashion. So Shane maybe can touch on that and enlighten you on that fashion and what's happening there.
Yeah, so to continue this point, it's very simple. So we spoke to some regulators and we explained to them that, look, we don't custody the funds, right? The funds are controlled by smart contract, and there's it's a pre-established flow. How does the funds work? We don't control the flow of funds, all right? So we neither decide whether somebody gets paid the claim, nor do we decide how much somebody gets paid. Again, those are all predetermined. And so if we don't custody the funds and we don't control the funds, then we're not a fintech company and we're not a financial services company. This is what these are the words of the regulator. So they said, well, what do you actually control? So we say, well, the only thing we really control is the integrity of the code, whether or not the calculations are right, whether or not we get audit. I mean, security hacks. And so they say, well, in that case, you are a technology company. And so based on that foundation, we're saying, well, okay, if this is the case, well, then let's keep going down this path where we'll keep everything as decentralized as possible so as not to fall under insurance regulations. And the reason is not because we don't want to be regulated, by the way. I think the way we're doing things is actually more transparent and more easy to regulate than insurance companies today, because everything is transparent. Everything is there on the blockchain. The code is there. The algorithms are there. So we are ready to get regulated like that because everything is already open. However, insurance regulations are kind of special, because if you wanted to start an insurance company today, generally speaking, you need paid up capital, meaning money that sits there as a reserve of about $25 million. Now, this is why today, if you look at fintech, insurtech, all of the majority of the insurtech companies are there to serve the insurance companies and not there to disrupt insurance companies. They're there, their customer is the insurance company. Because it's near impossible as a startup to start a challenger insurance fund because of regulations, because of this high cost of entry, right? And so this is why you have the status quo. This is why nobody is trying to disrupt the insurance industry, because it's practically impossible. But enter Web3, DAOs, decentralization, blockchain, cryptocurrencies. All of a sudden, this is possible. It's now possible to start a challenger insurance fund and really change the way insurance companies are doing it. And the regulators seem to be fine with it, because at least that's what we've heard so far from talking to them.
Awesome. That's really important. And I think you positioned yourself very cleverly in a sense of, because I know the pain and the challenges that companies need to go through to become regulated, which also stifles innovations, puts a lot of actually inefficiencies, especially around capital requirements, which, I hope we touch upon that later in terms of we need to raise more capital just to have it there, to satisfy the regulatory requirements. So it's a big challenge actually, and I really, really appreciate it. I think it's an awesome positioning and the one that will serve you well going forward a lot. And I just want to say, actually, we have two questions from the audience. So maybe one is a very interesting one, given that both of you have a very diverse background. Why Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? To hear, what made you to position yourself there. And the second one, I think maybe we're, a bit more straightforward. What's the revenue model of the company? How are you going to, how is it going to be a very sustainable project? So go ahead. Yeah.
So first of all, Saudi Arabia, first of all, we were that's where we actually exited our first startup, I would say. But then Saudi Arabia is one of the fastest growing economy in the world, part of the G20. Is a top-down kingdom. Is a kingdom, so it's really like the leaders are really top-down. So anything that is issued or sent becomes law very quickly. It's a young rulers like in Dubai as well and stuff like that. So things are happening very fast in this region. Okay, in terms of technology. Then, of course, a lot of capital, not necessarily in the blockchain crypto, but a lot of capital as well available. And innovation is really pushed to the limit. Then, when it comes to our particular audience at the beginning, even though we're targeting, let's say, an expat, a Muslim population outside of the GCC, outside of the Gulf, French Muslim, British Muslim, and you name it, US. So we wanted to be in a place where they respect, it's a holy land there. We close to the Sharia board review, the scholars who issue fatwa regarding crypto, regarding, our product. So it's a first, step to kind of capture the Muslim audience, I would say, in a very effective way. Okay. And then it's easy of doing business as well. Easiness of doing business in this region is very fast growing. And but as I said, the product start as a niche, but also attract a lot of non-Muslim because of the fairness and equity of what we're building as a greater community. So Sharon, maybe you want to add a bit.
So just to give you a bit of a glimpse of what Saudi Arabia is today, first of all, I think 60 or 70% of the population is under the age of 30. All right, very, very young population. They are very quick to embrace technology, right? So I think something like 20% of the population are crypto users or investors in one way or the other. It's one of the highest crypto in terms of volume countries in the Gulf. So it's just a couple of basic stats. Now, the what is cool about Saudi Arabia in this particular point of time is it was a closed country for a very, very long time, closed both culturally as well as from a business perspective. And in the last 5 years or so, with the new leadership, it's opened up. So they are catching up. And as Murad was saying, that it's a kingdom, so it's still the leadership that is directing everything. And the leadership is very dynamic, very young, and they are trying to catch up. So there are great opportunities here for anyone, especially entrepreneurs, who want to come in and they want an environment where everybody you have tailwinds pushing you ahead. They want you to succeed because they want you to succeed on behalf of Saudi Arabia in Saudi Arabia. And so they're helping entrepreneurs a lot. And I think a lot of startuppers and entrepreneurs who come here, that's what they feel. Whereas in many other countries, it is somehow a struggle to fundraise, to get the support from the government. Here, it's different. Here, all kinds of programs are being launched on a daily basis to help and support entrepreneurs. So I think this is the key reason why we're in Saudi Arabia. Besides the fact that we like living here, obviously we're Muslims. I mean, look at me. So we like living here, and this is culturally a fit for us. So personally, you have to be comfortable. But it just it's a happy coincidence that they are also extremely entrepreneur friendly today. So this is my answer on Saudi Arabia. Now, how do we make money? This is a very good question. It's a very simple answer. We take a commission or a management fee, not commission, sorry, a management fee on the contribution. So a one-time 20% management fee on every contribution that enters the DAO fund. And that's it. We do not participate in the upside or the downside of the token, nor do we get any cut of the underwriting surplus. All of that goes back to the fund.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks a lot. And just I want to say is maybe one thing that's very exciting and very interesting for me to hear was actually your success around fundraising. So I would really want, if you can share a bit how painful or unpainful or successful fundraising can be, and what was your experience doing that, both before actually and for TakaDAO. So to really hear that, behind the scenes a little bit, how it works, and just tell us also as well, like, how does it feel to be acquired? I have not, I gone that a little bit through in a very specific way in one of the companies I founded, where I'm actually one single investor bought out everybody else, but we were not actively involved. But how does it feel to get acquired when you are actively involved in the company, and what does that entail? So this would be maybe my two questions towards the end. And if there's any further ones, then we can, kind of slowly wrap up and, really great.
So I will start maybe, Sharon, and then you can add up and complete my thought. So first of all, getting acquired, it's a long process. So especially, don't forget we're not in the US where you have a lot of exit happening because of the market and the condition. So a lot of startups get acquired in a very, I would say, quick fashion. When it comes to Middle East, it's very difficult to exit. There's no IPOs and stuff like that, except a few of the things that are happening now. The market in Saudi Arabia is happening now. A secondary market is opening now. That gives the chance for startup to finally exit, in a public space. So it was a long journey, to be honest. A lot of trial and error. We almost, quit many times. We were like running out of cash, going up, down. So you can imagine the roller coaster. Okay, but one fundamental here is that we always had in our mind that, as a startup back then, you compete. Not It's like the golf. When you play golf, you don't compete with necessarily only with your adversary. You compete with yourself. Okay, so it's like it was always a theory. The longer you stay in the market, the longer other people die, and eventually whatever is left gets acquired somehow. So stay in the game. So the only one thing that the investors don't forgive is you running out of cash. So there was always like a way to continue fundraising, to stay alive, grow, and eventually find an acquirer. So we got lucky that basically is the power of network as well. It's very important to be patient and never piss off anybody in the ecosystem. Always be understandable. If you hear no from somebody, don't take it personally. Continue to I would say to do the speaking and being nice and reporting to these people who say no to you, and ask them why they say no. So the funny story is that one of my late angel was a guy who said to me 10 times no. Okay, every year, every 6 months, no, 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 no. I like you, but no, no, no. Eventually, I got a yes from him. So uh, so this guy was like very influential in the ecosystem. So the power also the small angel bringing sometimes better value than a strong VC. He was doing some due diligence on the IKEA venture, and they were thinking about building a peer-to-peer marketplaces, putting a few $1 million into the making. So the guys, hey Murad, I make an introduction, and there we go. So finally, I'm in front of the IKEA group from the Middle East, looking to build what we are building. So they wanted, so I kindly told them I can support you doing that. Eventually they realized I was too difficult to build, and they made an investment in us. And when they make this investment, they continue to do a follow-on investment. Eventually, they wanted to acquire the business and put few business together, try to IPO the whole thing. Okay, so that was not easy. You have to be super patient. It took almost 12 months from the time we talk about being fully acquired to get acquired. A lot of sweat, a lot of coming back and forth, a lot of being humble, not try to, you're here to make things happen, so yeah, it's not an easy journey. But really, when you work with top professional and trusted people, that's the most important, that have their words has weight, like they say, they get the things done. Okay. And yeah, so that's how it happened. So it was like, again, to be honest, also is the notion of having, the eclipse moment, where everything line up at the same time, is really time, place, and, I would say this chemistry has to happen. Sometimes you're too early, it's not going to happen. And sometimes you're too late, it's not going to happen. The timing has to be there. So there is like a saying that, the market of one, is somebody somewhere looking for you to get you, and you don't know where it is. So again, he come through an angel. We did we did the rescue to us. So and it's not easy, and it's really like you have to have a lot of stamina, passions, and stuff like that. A lot of work. By the way, it's not like easy. And never fight with your competitor. That's another thing. You could compete with them aggressively, intellectually, but at the end of the day, be with them, sit with them, as an individual. And actually, the day you acquire them or they acquire you, things becomes easier. So don't have any. And that the good thing is about us is that we always had kind of way of dealing with our competitor in a very nice way. So eventually, when we come together at the table to acquire one another or something like that, it was much easier to go through a deal, less nasty, I would say. Okay. So this is all these kind of things, anyway, you're here for a long game, and people want to see success happening. For the second question, what was uh, the second question was focus on.
How was SwissAssetDAO's experience with fundraising? Given that at least I kind of see it's very successful and you're doing it very professionally and efficiently. So let's hear the background, the behind the scenes stories about that as well.
Yeah. So look, to be honest, when I hear an announcement about somebody raising a huge amount of money, I fear and I feel sorry sometimes for them because money can be a curse. So raising capital is not a sign of being successful in any way, shape, or form. It's just you could just be talented to tell a story and everything. At the end of the day, the more you raise, the more KPIs you have to show for the next round. Because if you're in this mechanism of fundraising, it never stops. Okay. So sometimes when I see the amount of cash, I say, oh my God, how is going to execute on this amount of cash, taking in consideration how many people you will have to onboard and hire. It's like flying an airplane, and they give you money, they tell you get out of the airplane and fix the engine, hiring hundreds of people at the same time, fast scaling. And what you see happening at the end of the day, all those fast scaling business and stuff like that, who raise millions and millions, you see them dying, as we can see many times on the news, or sometimes you don't even hear it because they don't want to make the news, So I'm not impressed when people raise. I want to see how they execute. And actually, you should really raise whatever money you need in order for you to succeed for the next level of round. Okay. So we very, I wouldn't say conservative, but the way we look at approach We only raise when we need, and how we can really execute on and come back with other level of requirement to our investors, and how we can raise more to get us to the next level. At the end of the day, it's not about raising. It's about executing and making a business successful. And of course, you have to have in mind kind of a roadmap, a roadmap of who can be the best investors for you on your next round, and already kind of having an intro, talking to them, and keeping this ongoing update. Don't wait last minute for a Series B, Series C, Series D of VC to give them an update about what you do. Should like at I would say pre-seed level, you should already have a communication with them and to see how you grow your business and stuff like that. And having a real product at the end of the day, a real idea, a real vision, a real product that you can display and show to your investors, and they're like, "Wow, that's something I'm really interested." So, Annie, if Sharon want to share more on that, again, funny thing is like humble yourself to talk to anybody. To be honest, like we got top VC like Tim Draper, for example, was a small competition. We were like, hey, there's a competition happening there. We never say no to go and showcase what we can say, what we can do, and what we're all about. Because you never know what's going to happen. So you go and objectively go and pitch. And we got lucky, we pitched in front of Tim Draper. And by the way, before pitching to Tim Draper, we got maybe 50 no's in KSA. All the people I was pitching Takadao, they were like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, what's going on? I was pitching to the wrong people. They don't understand crypto. They don't understand blockchain. They don't understand DAO. So I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Eventually, Tim Draper come at the competition and we pitch Takadao. The guy stand up is like, he's like right away feeling so happy about hearing the project. And eventually, a few days later, after he went back to California, he kind of reached out to us through email and call and everything. And I was like, what's happening there? He really, really liked what we were doing. So we closed the deal with him in a split, like few weeks, it was done. When we visited back Tim again in California, he explained to us the reason why he was so in awe in what we were doing. And maybe Sharon can share more about that. But that was kind of light, a good moment again, eclipse moment, everything tied up together, and it happens.
Yeah, I think as Murad said, fundraising is a long game, and personally, I hate fundraising. When I first started, I was like, everybody should just give me money because we're building something great. This is a fantastic business. Why wouldn't they support us, right? And I had this idea that we would be able to raise funds easily just because the business is a good one or it's a good idea. But actually, fundraising is so much more than that. It's about being able to convey the story. Even if you have strong numbers, even if you have a business that is actually very powerful and disruptive, etc., if you cannot tell your story, if you're unable to convey that, if you're unable to show that, you will not be able to raise funds. And then the next question is, well, why do I need to raise funds at all? Well, if you are in this venture game, if you are in this startup game, and startups is a different breed than a normal, I would say, a traditional business. A traditional business, you run on your revenue and you run on cash flow and you just grow. When it comes to startups, because of the nature of technology, you need to grow very fast. You need to scale very fast or you won't make it. So you have to fundraise. It's almost a given. Of course, there are some businesses who actually bootstrap their way, but that is rare. That is maybe 1% or maybe even less than 1%. So if you want to build a startup, you just know you're gonna have to figure out how to fundraise. And if you hate fundraising and if it's something you don't want to do, either you find a co-founder like I did who actually enjoys it, who enjoys the pain, or you gotta quit the startup because this is a necessary part of the business. and it's a long game, and you have to be patient, and you have to have thick skin, thick like this, because you keep getting shut down, you keep getting, people tell you no. And the funny thing is, for me personally, every time somebody says no to me, it upsets me. Of course it does, right? And no matter how many times I hear it, it still upsets me. So you got to figure out a way to insulate that, dust it off, get up again. And this is fundraising.
Another very, Anton, very important point here for the audience. Okay, we share our fundraising experience a little bit as a Web 2 and now Web 3. Okay, so there's a very misconception. The I would say the crypto bro, for them they're like, wow, it's easy to fundraise. I do a white paper, I do a token, and I launch this token, I make money. They live in the la la land for me, to be honest. And I really didn't like the concept of token and launching, and you hear this rack pulling and all these kind of things. So I really want to say to the audience, what was interesting about what we were doing, I don't know if we were wrong, but we didn't want to raise capital the way Web3 projects are raising capital with a launch of a token, which is they get a huge amount of money very easily, and maybe they never deliver on what they're supposed to deliver. And I saw a lot of people coming to me telling me, oh, we raise with a token, now we're in a crap. I need to go traditional and raise for this, especially during the winter time, the crypto winter. So we approach the Web3 community and stuff like that in a different way. We launch a white paper, and then we start working on the project very hard, and then raise with traditional VC. We wanted the validation with venture capital and angel, and with that money is to build a company. Okay. Eventually, of course, the best is to go with a token. You don't have to give equity, nothing. But that was not our way. Even today, we don't have a token, and we're not about to launch a token yet. It will take some time before we do. So we're going to another traditional round of funding. This brings a lot of validation to your crypto project, validation to have a name who are doing proper diligence on your venture, not just a token launch that you have a bunch of people wanted to just increase their revenue by buying some account or whatever. Okay, so it's a different story. So some people maybe in a crypto world might find it easy to raise capital just by launching a token. That's not our play. Okay, so this is a way. But if you go to the traditional venture road, is a suffering over suffering over suffering. No, until you hear yes. Okay, so be patient. Embrace the no. Ask them why it's no. Come back to them. Sometimes and most of the time, it's not because of you. It's because of them. They might not have the cash available. Your timing is wrong, and so on and so forth. Don't take it personally. They're human being. Come back to them, and then eventually you close them. That's what it is. Inshallah.
Awesome. And really, thanks very much for sharing this experience, with fundraising. It very closely matches, especially in terms of the pain, the complexity, and the preparation, how I have experienced it as well. I think you said it the best, is like at the pre-seed stage, you should be already communicating maybe for a seed or Series A stage, right? And also delivering on the goals and the milestones that you pre-communicate, and transparently say what it doesn't work out, or you pivot as well. I think this also shows credibility, expertise, and sound thinking. I do also maybe for the end would like to say that I have in my career I have seen actually venture funding in all of the ventures that I have been a part of. But I think with the advances that we're seeing in many different areas, especially in the context of AI, where we see actually that a lot of the things that were unscalable before or required a lot of resources now might require a lot less or be able to be automated. I think that number that Shireen has mentioned from some small percentages of bootstrapped startups, that it might actually grow. Because I have also experienced on the other side what it means to give out equity, the challenges that come with that, and also the management that you have to do the same way you didn't have then a big management with the shareholders, which can, take you to many different, avenues and, and challenges and opportunities you would not anticipate actually kind of when you were starting off with your venture fundraising, but really wanted to say thank you to both of you. For me, this was really amazing, because you really shared, how it is to be in a startup, what are you working on, your mission and vision and drive. And also really, I know it was a little bit maybe kind of side topic, not off topic, but side topic, how it is to be acquired. And I think, Morad, you have really shared some, very, very wise thoughts. And, I will remember them dearly, for what you said, because this was not the experience that I had. I never got acquired, so, or a company. So what I was running is, so I think, wanted to thank you both, for joining the live event. We overshoot it a little bit, over 1 hour, and also wanted to thank the audience and the guests who have been, I saw on my phone for quite a long time present, and really, wishing you all the best. TakaDAO is really a project and a goal that I dearly actually mention to everyone when I have the opportunity, when the context is right. So wishing you all the best of success, and you have full support from myself and SwissAssetDAO going forward in whatever shape and form you would like to have. So thank you both. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure sharing with you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Anton. And likewise, it was really nice to speak to you again. And thank you, everyone who was listening in. And you know what? Last message is feel free to reach out to us always. As you know, we're building a community and we want to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you both. And ciao. Bye-bye. Awesome.